Hope. I bet you'd hear those words out on the beach. Back then. The golden sand glistening against the bright sunlight. Perhaps there are children making sandcastles. Parents drinking a beer, whatever families do. Here, it's not so different. There's no people, but I can't blame them at the break of dawn. Even so, the beaches grow more empty. The natural beauty of our landscape used to be one of a kind. A sight to hold with you. Now you can put on a headset and the animal part of our brain does the rest. Maybe I'm just behind. Out of touch. Maybe even conflicted on the entire idea. Because I still like walking along that coast. Hope. The word rings in my head. Many say humanity's hope is what resides in the company I work for. A neurological network complementing the deep learning artificial intelligence to create synthesized hope. That kind of garbled technological nonsense didn't really make sense in my head, but it appeared to do the job for marketing. The discussion came to light after an alarming amount of people began to detach themselves from the world in life-threatening ways. Escaping into the world of virtual reality was an antidote to the easily spread virus. The only side effect was loneliness within the physical world. To keep our race alive and sane, endless research into a simple device called the memmer gave users the feeling of artificial hope. In my eyes, it was just an extension of our inevitable doom.
Jarudo.
Good morning, Mr. Nakashima.
Please. Yuta is fine.
That is Yuta Nakashima. My boss had earned his title as humanity's last hope. Coming from Japan, he gained the trust of the entire world. The technology he managed to pack into a simple, user-friendly device encouraged people to wake up in the morning and greet a new day. As pessimistic as I am, I couldn't say that I didn't admire his work ethic. He found a way to help humanity, and he capitalized on it. Backup ports are ready, sir.
Good. 1人。ロードインポートステータス
ロードインポートオンラインさ。
Good. スタートザアップロードイン3、2、1。
アップロードリシエビング。
We are a company that specializes in technology that keeps the past in the present. I am the head of the memmer facilities, Utacorp's new memory reliving chip. Simply, we help you record or remember old memories in a way that lets them basically play out as if you were there. We call it synthetic reality. I'm in charge of ensuring those memories are backed up safely. Call it superstition or extra security, but Utacorp has a policy of backing up the database at different times each day. Today's backup was at a particularly early time, 5:43 a.m. At least my commute was literally 10 steps from my bed. Mr. Yuta, if you don't mind me asking, how do you pick which times to back up the data?
In English, it would be like air. Gut feeling.
While the public is distracted by this technological advancement, we're protecting the details of the product with the life of this very company. See, the user thinks the synthetic reality only displays the memories they choose. In reality, we can see everything. Every personal habit, every thought you've ever had. The sheer size of this information and the fact that it's essentially a new file format makes it extremely difficult to encrypt under the size of our user base. The biggest invasion of privacy and data misuse was right behind the public's eyelids. Still, I've always felt conflicted. Our backup facilities are dedicated to distributing advertising data. Companies pay a good price for Memoract data due to its accuracy. On the other hand, as the last hope for our race, we can't slack off. The people expect a schedule so that they don't lose access to the memories that give them hope. Having the future of the world in your hands is a responsibility that doesn't even need explaining.
Good. I sent some delivery drones bringing tea and breakfast your way. Thank you, team.
Instant delivery for shared unami.
Mr. Nakashima prides himself on running his business efficiently. Many employees are responsible for multiple jobs. My first job description involves backing up the data of our Memoract users. My second job description involves backing up the data of the company's daily documents, new deployment, and platform builds. I can't even really remember when the thought came into my head, but at this particular moment, my eyes led me to look beyond the names of files being backed up. What? Amidst the corporate lingo, mind-numbing lawyer lingo, and standard user agreements, I finally saw it. As a consumer of Unicorp's Memoract Technologies, agreeing to this privacy policy means that you surrender your memories, current thoughts, and any other data gathered by the chipset to Unicorp to be used for any means. What? Before the consumer release of Memoract, Yuta tried to clear any mention of the word thoughts from the company. Board members thought, rightfully so, that the public would be turned off if they believed we could read their thoughts, which we could. There was only one site that could make this possible, an anonymous forum called a place where I can make my call out and remain completely hidden to anybody who may know me. Look at this document from their Memoract pre-alpha in 2050. When you're in the platform, your thoughts are being sent straight to advertisers. It's not even remotely encrypted. My stomach dropped when I hit. I had a dream that night. I think. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear crowds. Their collective noise left me confused on what they were trying to say. Eventually, I was moved. I felt something grab onto me and drag me away from the noise. I could see the shape of a corridor. After a minute or so of walking, I felt my stomach churn out of discomfort. Was it of the silence? I'm not exactly sure. I couldn't make it to the end of the corridor, no matter how hard I tried. Good morning, Mr. Nakashima.
Yuta is fine.
Yes, sir. Backup ports are ready.
1人、
さあ、
ロードインポートステータス、
ロードインポーツコンファンドさ。
ジャルド。ジャルド。
Sir?
スタートザアップロードイン3、2、1。
アップロードリシービング。
ジャルド。
Yes, sir.
I have a gut feeling about something.
About what, Mr. Sorry. About what, Yuta?
Instant delivery for shared unami.
Disturbing allegations against the company behind SR device, Memoract, have come to light. This comes just days after head of Memoract backup facilities stepped down amidst the chaos. No further comments from Yuta Nakashima have been made public at this time.
Do you ever wonder, like, when we're watching films, if we're just watching digital representations of light going into our retinas, and like, why do we view it as something that's a beautiful story when really it's just patterns that flow across your face?
I don't know. I never think about that.
You like popcorn?
Oh yeah.
Here, but he cannot talk. He is dumb.
Last week I asked you, what may a world that uses algorithms to optimize its economy look like? Apollo That Sun Person says, quote, I think a world that uses algorithms to optimize its economy, in other words, one that imposes a certain order to the world more than the status quo, will instead invite more divided humans as the status quo. There may be people that follow the algorithm, people who refuse to go along and live as they used to, people who actively rebel and protest against the system, people who twist the algorithm to their benefits, like hackers, businesses, religions, and governments, and others I can't list off the top of my head. However, despite all the newfound differences to divide us, I believe we, as humans, have mostly achieved the point of knowledge where war is heavily disliked. So I don't think anything like an armed rebellion or war will occur without provocation. All in all, it'll be interesting to see the cultural changes of algorithms telling us how to live, and us being required to coexist with them, since it has to be a world that uses algorithms for the economy. As well as the biggest coin flip in history, did the original algorithms take all this into account during optimization, or were they incapable of grasping humanity's seemingly unpredictability? Only time will tell. This is what I personally think one such world could look like. End quote. Thank you for your answers. This week's question: